right, another edition of Tech on Ice. Whew, it's cold in here for some reason today. So we've talked about this in the past. I wanted to talk about it a bit more with a particular use case. We talked about AI. We're talking about like this agentic workflow. So the idea that you can extend the experience of an AI. So whether it be Copilot or an LLM or what have you, right? And be able to kick off some particular task, right? And we're seeing this, come to fruition a little bit with the announcement and now general availability of Devin, which is a tool that was announced earlier this year, so early 2024, but it was made generally available a couple of days ago, so December of 2024. And basically, what Devin is it's a new approach, in my opinion, to how we think about these agents or kicking off particular workflows. Because to this point, it's been give it a particular task and it goes and does that task and comes back to you. But what Devin is uh, attempting to do, similar to like what GitHub Workspace is attempting to do, and to an extent Cursor agents a little bit as well, is hey, here's a not just a singular task, but a set of tasks given in a prompt, and do all the necessary steps in order to complete the request of that prompt. So an example being is like, hey, I want to create a web UI that hits this database, right? Um, and it goes through and it does all the stuff. Like it builds out a plan. It uh, creates code. It tests that code. It reviews that code. It does all those things. And during that process, you can engage with it. So just for complete transparency, I have not personally used Devin. I've used GitHub Workspaces and I've used Cursor agents. But I've watched enough content, both from like the folks that are making Devin as well as influencers online to make a general assessment of how I see it and where it's going to go. Potentially where. So Devin's interface is a Slack bot, in my opinion. Um, yeah, that's probably oversimplification, but that's how you communicate with Devin is like over Slack messages, which is kind of interesting entry point because to date, GitHub Workspaces is its own standalone environment. Cursor agents are built into the Cursor IDE, so the Cursor UI, which is like VS Code. And it's interesting because you engage with it as you would engage with it as a teammate. And that brings up like the most interesting part of Devin to me is the pricing model. So um, it, with other tools, it's like a per user per month, right? But how Devin is doing is it's $500 a month, but you get unlimited seats, whatever that means. I'm guessing multiple people can engage with Devin. I'm guessing that's what that means because it's essential. It's like it's accessed via Slack, so that makes sense. And what you get for that 500 a month is what they called ACUs, so like agent consumption units. It's not very clear to me when I look at information about it, like what that actually entails. This isn't the first time like a service is kind of obfuscated like pricing. Um, but it's very interesting to say you get X amount, I think it's 250 of ACUs per month, and that's what you get for that $500. That's US. And if you want to pay additional, you can pay additional. But what does that actually mean? It's treating Devin like it's an AI coworker, which is dangerous because all the stuff that I've seen, it's not quite there yet. It probably will get closer and closer, but it's a lot of hand holding. And I think some of the metrics they said is like Devin outperforms 74.2% of developers, right? But if you have a senior developer or a team lead who has to like walk Devin step by step through the process, and there's videos of people like struggling, like, hey, build me like a Go server, and it struggles, or commit this to main, and it takes like you know a minute and a half to commit something, not even like push it, just commit it. Um, so I think what's interesting about all of this, and we're gonna see more and more of this. Like Google's probably gonna come out with, they already have like some agentic work in that space, like we talked about Project Astra, right? Um, Copilot is gonna do this more and more with GitHub Workspaces, or GitHub is gonna do this more and more with GitHub Copilot Workspaces. Um, like this idea that like, hey, your workflow, instead of asking chat or asking a prompt to solve a particular task, is, hey, give me this more, like, here's a complicated task, like what would it look like to actually, if somebody else other than me was to do it and I can review it for you. um I want to say right now it's not at any level to replace a junior developer. Like, that has been very, very clear looking at any of the videos and some of the documentation. But we may get to a point where a lot of companies look at it and it's like, well, do I outsource, aka do I, hire um a set of team, like, do I build a team or hire a set of developers that are located in a country where outsourcing it is more prevalent, like Southeast Asia or in Eastern Europe or Africa or what have you, where the labor is cheaper, or do I just spend $500 a month for a handful of Devons? It'll be interesting how what that this some companies will have to make that decision, because at the end of the day, it's all about trying to reduce as much cost, right, and produce as much as possible with that reduced cost. Um, I'm not sold on it yet, but we're early on. I uh, I also don't really like the the interface that it's using, like Slack. What happens if your company doesn't use Slack? You're not even a Devon customer at that point. I know there's a GitHub integration, like, um, but that's just like through like being able to push and pull and manage GitHub repositories. It's not like you're embedded in like the GitHub UI. So like you have to be a Slack customer, which is even interesting. I wonder what Salesforce thinks about that, but that's maybe a different conversation for a different day. Anyway, like, if you've seen any of the content around Devon, I'd love to hear your thoughts, or if you're curious about Devon, please put down in the comments below. This is an interesting space, and it's only going to get more and more interesting as more and more companies want to get into it. Um, and then, like and subscribe as always, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.